Beautiful Thursday. It's December 17th, 2020. Wow, what an incredible year. Full of uncertainty, unexpected challenges, and change. And one of the greatest things we can do is understand that life is full of change. And so one of those changes I want to talk about today is death. Why is that? Because I enjoyed the subject of death. I find it to be one of the most liberating and inspiring subjects we can talk about. And life is full of amazing topics. So if we can make the finality of it all exciting, then the entire journey is amazing. And the truth is, if you're looking for what is a guarantee in life, the guarantee is that eventually your journey here is going to end. And where is it going to go? That's based off your spiritual beliefs. Now, traditionally we see a lot of people utilizing something such as heaven and hell, and if you live a great life you get to go to heaven, if you commit lots of sin you get to go to hell. And if that's the school of thought you subscribe to, fantastic. Other people like the Mormons love them. There's multiple levels of heaven. Like, even if you're a great person, you don't get to go to their highest level of heaven. And Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe in this utopian type world, and I don't do justice for any of those descriptions because I don't necessarily subscribe to any of those schools of thought. I do love studying different religions because then you start to see the differences between them. Often you hear people who maybe grew up in a particular religious belief. Maybe they were raised in a Catholic church, but that doesn't necessarily resonate with who they are. And then they separate from the church, and then they start claiming, well, I'm agnostic. And that's simply, when someone says they're agnostic, usually I say, here's the church. Let's say this is the church they were raised in. Agnostic would be like you've stepped outside of something and you've decided that's not for you, and you'll hear that in their talk, like, well, I don't necessarily subscribe to this school of thought. And that's not just dealing with Catholics. It's dealing with, could be Mormons, could be Baptists, could be... And each one of these religions will claim that their way is right. And I'm a subscriber to the New Thought. New Thought says you believe in what you feel is right for you. Now, I know a lot of people will not necessarily resonate with that thought, and that's perfectly fine. That shows where you're at on your spiritual journey, and I appreciate it, and I love it, and I believe very, very strongly, no matter what you believe, you need to believe in it 100%. Grow in it. Share it. Practice it. Teach it. So many people have a certain belief system and they never are willing to have a conversation about it. Because if we think about some of the wording we hear people say is we never discuss money with friends and we don't discuss religion, or politics is the other thing. Rather than, believe in what you believe and be willing to talk about it. A greater challenge than just to show up at a spiritual gathering, whether that be church or anything else, is challenge yourself to learn how to articulate the ideas in a way that other people can understand you. Because if you don't, then it's falling short, because maybe someone needs what you are offering. Maybe it's you've been raised Christian and you believe 100% that is the way, and that's fantastic, and you should if that is what resonates with you. But I challenge you, go learn enough that you can go share the ideas with someone else. If you don't subscribe to the Baptist religion, maybe you're Mormon. Like, fantastic. I love Mormons. I love the disciplines. I love how they go on a 2-year missionary trip, and they keep journals. They keep calendars, very strict schedules. They study diligently their faith, which is amazing as well. And sometimes people are like, well, that doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't resonate with you. Well, what does resonate with you? If that is the journey that you're on in life. There are so many different areas of life that you can work on at any given point in time. Maybe it's finance. Maybe it's family. Maybe it's raising kids. Maybe it's this massive spiritual experience that we're going through. Each one of these could take a lifetime of study if that's something that motivates you. Most people dabble in a lot of different things, but maybe something really resonates with you and you're like, I want to become the most proficient income earner out of anyone that I know. Awesome, great, go for it. If you're like, I want to become the most spiritually attuned person out of anyone that I know, great, go for it. If relationships is your thing, I'm going to have the most fulfilling, lit up relationship of anyone that I know. Great, go for it. You can make each one of these a study. You can either go through the School of Hard Knocks, which means I'm just going to figure things out on my own. Otherwise, you can learn from those who have already begun that journey or further along. That's in the books. It's in the speakers. YouTube has so many fantastic things. There's people in your neighborhood you can look at their life and say, I really love the way you live your life. Would you mind sharing with me what led you to live life like this? Most people will be willing to share. Nowadays, don't necessarily do that in person because of this whole COVID challenge that we're facing, but maybe get on a Zoom conversation. Have a Zoom coffee. It's a great thing. Well, what do you do? Send them a gift card for Starbucks or whichever coffee shops around you. You can do any of that, and that's awesome. But engage in the conversation. Ask the questions. And for me, spirituality is extremely important, and that journey began many, many years ago when I was in middle school. Actually, is whenever my spiritual understanding started to develop, and I'm very blessed to have some amazing mentors that showed up in my life along the way. And those are all stories in themselves. But what an incredible experience! One of the greatest gifts was the delivery of books into my life, because one of my teachers was a woman who was much too old to visit with at the time when I first connected with her, but she started sending me books, and she said, I'm too old to be able to come and see you right now, but hopefully when you're finally ready, you'll find what you need in one of these books. And so often, if we don't show up, we're never going to find the lesson, because so many lessons are hidden out there. They're waiting for us to show up, and once you do, that can change everything for you. So the subject I want to talk about a little bit is death right now, because there's so many people facing death, uncertainty, and it's the fate that we are all going to eventually come into. It's undeniable. What happens beyond that? You have faith, and faith is belief in that which has not yet been realized, but believe and practice what feels right for you. At the end, who knows? We might all be wrong, or maybe we might all be right. It's really unknown, but the best thing you can do is study and practice in your own life to the extent that you feel is necessary at the time. But never become so religious of no earthly value. You still are in this arena for a reason, to learn a lesson to help you grow on the spiritual path that you're on. So I want to talk about death a little bit, and death through different cultures, through different religions, is reflected differently. In Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book, Death, she often refers to the different religions of the world, or different ways cultures look at death and dying. In America, it's a very taboo topic. We don't spend a lot of time with it. In other cultures, it's in their face. So when someone dies, the family, or the individual who has passed, is laid out in front of the family. Others, they'll help dress the body. It's an entire cultural experience of death. In America, it's kind of a taboo. Usually someone goes to the funeral home, and then there's a service, and then all of a sudden they're at the cemetery, and then it's buried, and then it's kind of brushed underneath the rug. We don't really expose our kids to it to a certain age. Other cultures, they expose their children to death as a natural part of life. Some people fear death, others embrace death. Some believe that from birth to 30 you are growing, and from 30 on you're dying. I mean, that's a challenge to thought, because often we think, well, you die at 90. Well, we don't have to look very far, especially in this day and age, to find someone who died significantly younger than that. Life is very much a gift. Every day is a gift. Your choice and your attitude every day is a gift. How are you going to handle that? How are you going to treat each day? Are you going to treat it like it's a blessing, or are you going to treat it like it's a curse? And when in my study of spirituality, I'm of the school of New Thought. New Thought would be churches like Unity, Christian Science. People who, you've got literal translation of spiritual texts, and you've got metaphysical understandings. Metaphysical, meta, meaning above and beyond. You're looking above and beyond. If this is not resonating with you, make an observation of, why do I feel this particular way? If we are raised within a certain box of understanding in our life, then anything that falls outside of that box, we will try to relate to inside of here. Like, that is wrong, because that's not what it fits into this particular thing. And when people are raised in certain religious practices, which is amazing, once again, I'm not criticizing organized religions. I'm saying you have to find what resonates with you. But a lot of people are raised inside of a box, and that could be, well, in politics, maybe they were raised Republican. They don't really think about why they're Republican. Or maybe they're raised Democrat. They don't really think about, well, what does this actually mean? They're just subscribing to the school of thought that they were raised in. Sometimes you have to step outside the box and say, well, this doesn't resonate with you. And that's called free thought. And it's a fantastic gift you can bring to the world, is your unique qualities, your unique understanding, your unique perspectives, but gaining the confidence so that you can bring that into the world. Going back to the subject of death, I want to read to you from something, one of the best books you can ever read. If you're ever struggling with grief, or if you are really struggling with the upcoming death, or the possibility that death may be coming and knocking on your door soon. We're all on that path. It's just a matter of, are we treating life in such a special way to say that each day is a blessing? We never know if tomorrow is going to come. So many people are pulled in high levels of anxiety about what might happen tomorrow. You might not even make it tomorrow. Something may happen to you randomly that takes you out today. Are you worried about that? Not necessarily. What can you do to become more fully present with your kids, with your family, with your life, so that you're truly enjoying your day and treating it like the blessing that it is? If you have anxiety, that's a practice. And if you practice being anxious every day, you become very efficient at it. So death being this thing, it's coming. Are you embracing it? And begin the process of understanding. Begin the process of living your life fully. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book on death and dying, and another book of hers is titled Death, is learning how to live more fully through the process of dying, because she spent time with those who were dying. And so that is an opportunity that you have in your experiences, is to study. But if that's not where you're at right now, you might as well just turn off this video. But if death is something that you're faced with, something you want to have a little bit more of an understanding on, maybe a conversation on, then I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. I would actually enjoy maybe having a Zoom conversation where if something I said resonates with you, great, let's have a conversation. If something I said really challenges your paradigm, great, let's have a conversation about it. I'm more than willing to embrace any conversation. So in this book, it's called Sunrise, and it's by White Eagle. It's a book of knowledge and comfort for the bereaved. Chapter 1, The Way, the Truth. We think that fear of death, fear of transition from mortal to spiritual life, looms up as man's greatest bogey, and this apprehension seems to increase with his development of a more sensitive nervous system. Yet some of you can tranquilly say, for you all fear death has passed. You can look through the thinning veil into the larger spiritual existence with complete confidence and indeed with happy anticipation, and can rejoice instead of grieving when one of your number has been visited by the great and compassionate Mother, called some the Angel of Death, who comes at the appointed time to unbar the doors between this world and the next. You think also of the joy which your loved one goes forth into a sunlit garden as the door is flung wide. When you can truly rejoice at this liberation, you have indeed taken a great step forward. That is just from one paragraph of that book. That is the opening paragraph, and that is speaking about really embracing the process called as death. And in that introduction, when they're saying walking into a sunlit garden, that is the release of this physical existence into whatever that next step on our spiritual journey is. Ram Dass, who's a great spiritual guru in recent times, said death is like taking off of a tight shoe. So many seniors have so much pain in their body, and you may not even be a senior, but maybe you've got a lot of pain. Embrace the pain. It's a sign that you're still alive. Realize that one day all that pain will be relieved when the transition comes between this and your next experience. And coming to comfort with that and say, what an experience I'm having. And perceive yourself. Why are you feeling the way that you are about that pain? Is there a lesson that's behind the experience that you're going through? I wish that everyone had a great feeling body and a great stress-free existence in this journey, but the truth is that we're here for a reason. We're here for growth through this entire process. Some die young, some grow old, some never have the experience to be on this journey. When the child dies and we're cursing that happened, are they truly dead, or are they have just shed their physical body? This is a lot to process. This is a lot to take in. And at some point in time in your journey, perhaps it's something that really becomes a pressing matter, and it's important to know, well, what are some resources that I can have to really help embrace this journey that I'm on? Some people have recently lost someone close to them, someone that they love, someone that they really enjoyed being a part of their journey. Now you are that living legacy from that experience that they had. How are you going to grow forward with a new understanding? How are you going to reflect that legacy within your own life? Don't just curse the event, because eventually once you shed this physical existence, you will go on to an existence in a similar energy with whatever had happened to that person, whether that be heaven or whether that be growing forward onto a new spiritual plane. It is that's where your faith comes in. Is you can't really prove what happens after you die unless you have maybe a near-death experience, but then once again, that's something very hard to to explain fully. You'll have a lot of different people having different explanations, a lot of similarities in them. Is it worth studying? Maybe. I mean, if that's what really resonates with you. But in this physical existence, being able to rejoice death rather than curse it. So many people practice, the study of heaven, but so many people lose their faith in times of trials. What could you do to grow yourself into having a more calming peace with transitions in life? When a baby dies, or we could go with the topic of abortion. I mean, that would be a really taboo thing. Or what's really happening when that baby dies? What is the next step in the process? Did the baby truly suffer, or was it just the body that's suffering? Is it freed from this experience and moves on to something greater, or is it that now you've robbed them from this is the only experience they have? Because some people truly believe that this is all that there is, and once you're dead, there's nothing. I mean, that's a unique perspective. I can't say that I truly embrace that myself, because that doesn't resonate with me. But there are people who believe that way. What are your thoughts on death? What do you think happens after this journey? I'd be curious to hear, and I would love to engage in that conversation. And maybe I'll start hosting a Zoom. If I get enough positive feedback from this, I would love to hold a Zoom conversation. Let's discuss from different perspectives of what we think happens after death, and maybe do some exploration. Maybe we need some peace in that because something deep down inside of us is still left in question. Well, we can explore that. Ultimately, the greatest answers don't come from a book. It doesn't come from the preacher up on the podium telling you how to live your life. The ultimate answers come from that inner exploration of asking yourself better questions and listening to that still small voice, the Christ within, to come up with the answers. But sometimes we read the book. Sometimes we find the teachers to help expand our own understanding so that we can grow a little bit quicker upon that path. Because sometimes within noise, it makes it very difficult to hear what we ultimately know and what's true for us. And maybe there's been so many years of the noise that it's really hard to turn inward for that outward expansion. So as you go on this journey, be aware of the process that we are all growing through, and ultimately the transition that will happen in the end of death and the taking off of that tight shoe. Now, have an amazing Thursday. I know death could be a taboo topic. It's not necessarily one that people like to talk about a lot, but it's worth exploring sometimes and growing through that process, because someone that if you've not experienced a lot of death, someday you will. Someone that you love and care about will someday pass, and you too shall pass. And to be able to give your family peace once you are gone would be a great benefit during this experience, rather than not having to talk about it, not being at peace with it before it happens, because it's coming eventually. But right now, live fully through the experience of dying and understand that this day, this moment, are there adversities? Yeah, of course, absolutely. Will there be adversities next year? Yeah. Once Corona is gone, will there be adversities? Yes. Biden's president now. And I know, might have hit a nerve that, Trump's not president anymore. Will there be challenges with Biden as president? Yes. Were there challenges with Trump as president? Yes. Welcome to the arena of life, and there's challenges no matter what's going on. Every year for the rest of your life, there will be challenges. But you know what's in the mix of challenges? Opportunities. No matter who's president, no matter what's going on, it's a matter of focus. What are you focused on? Are you focused on the negative that could happen? Remember, you're going to die. That's the worst thing that could happen to you. You could literally die today. So if you really want to worry, worry about death. Pick and choose. Or you can be like, oh my gosh, what if they take away blank, blank, blank? Well, what if you didn't make it to tomorrow? What did you miss out on by worrying about all these outside circumstances? So death can be a great perspective giver, and is worth exploration. So I appreciate it. If you made it through this, I would love to hear feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If someone wants to engage in a Zoom conversation later on, please just leave a message in the comments, and that's something we could explore one day. But no matter what you do, have a blessed Thursday, and going into the Christmas season. Don't know if I'll make any more of these in the next week. But if you enjoyed this, please, feedback's fantastic, and just know that no matter who you are, no matter what your belief system is, that I believe in you.